Your Excellency, as we all know for a long time, Karamoja sub-region has been characterized by armed cattle rustling, killings of innocent civilians, theft of household items, rape, among others. Such a criminality was extended to neighboring sub-counties of Teso, Lango, Bugisu, Sebei, and Achori, perpetrated by these criminal elements from Karamoja. The government of Uganda conducted a campaign in disarmament in Karamoja that concluded in 2009, where over 40,000 guns were retrieved from illegal hands in order to curtail criminality and foster economic development in the sub-region. In 2019, there was a resurgence of cattle rustling in Karamoja, also affecting the neighboring sub-regions, that is Teso, Achori, Bugisu, and Sebei. In response to this emerging threat, the Uganda People's Defense Forces, the Anti-Stock Safety Unit, which we call ASTU, and intelligence organs launched a disarmament operation codenamed Usalama kwa Wote. That was in July 2021. From that start of the operation in July 2021 to date, there have been efforts made in retrieving guns that were used by criminals to terrorize Karamoja and her neighborhood. Since the launch of that disarmament, Usalama kwa Wote, a total of 307, but now we have 309 guns. By this morning, we recovered 2 guns. 309 guns and 2,592 rounds of ammunition have been recovered so far, while 441 rounds of ammunition, 441 criminals were aligned before the Division Court Martial, DCM, and are serving various sentences. With the efforts made as highlighted above, the situation did not significantly change due to manpower gaps and logistic challenges, leading to escalation of cattle rustling in the months of January and February. On 10th May last month, 2022, we held an operation review meeting in Moroto to review the concept of operation and mode of its execution. In that meeting, it was recommended that since the division received additional manpower, simultaneous operation be conducted across the 9 districts of Karamoja, and also enhance deployment in neighboring districts to deter criminality. The 9 districts of Karamoja, if you hear about Abim don't raid, don't conduct raid. Then Karenga, but Karenga, they were saying, Your Excellency, that they don't go for raid. But we intensified our intelligence to find out whether Karenga don't raid or they raid. We discovered that Karenga, as you are saying, Your Excellency, a child crying, but then we discovered that also Karenga do raid in Kotido. Recently, when we launched this simultaneous operation, we have so far retrieved 4 guns from Karenga. The sub-counties that do raid in Karenga are Kawarakor, Kapedo, and Sangar. These are sub-counties that are close to Dodos, Kabongo, that some of the criminal elements that remain within the district, the new districts of Karenga, they also go for raids. it is not entirely that Karenga don't raid. Only the tribe called Napole, those are the ones that don't go for raid. But the elements of Dodos within Karenga district go for raid. Your Excellency, the meeting further recommended that profiled fugitive warriors should be targeted in manyatas, grazing area, trading centers, where they drink from, and in the markets where they sell stolen cows. The network of warriors targeted by this operation includes, so when we sat in our review meeting, we were all along, we have been targeting the gun-wielding people, the criminals, that we arrested a criminal, we have arrested him and we have interrogated him and we recovered the gun. But that was not enough, because we are following one person with a gun. But in our review meeting with commanders, we discovered that we need to go a step more, and we identified 5 people that are involved in cattle rustling. One is that one with a gun, a warrior with a gun. The second one was an armed warrior with bows and arrow. The third one was that one with a stick that drives the cows. The fourth one was the informer or the collaborator that helps the other party, the 3, to have the reconnaissance and get the cows stolen. Then the 5th one, we said these are suspects that maybe are not well profiled, but eventually they fall into our net. So our operations started by attacking the grazing areas, picking the criminal elements, and even recovering the guns from them after fully interrogating them. And even those ones that have bows and arrow, they have also been arrested. For example, the recent one, and the one which is going on, I will talk about of yesterday. In Kanawat, we arrested 832 suspects who are undergoing screening this morning, so that we pick out those ones that we suspect to have committed the crime. We have gone ahead to ask the CIDs and intelligence to make to conduct some analysis of the raids that were conducted in the other districts, so that we ask people the raids that happened, either conducted by the GA or by the Dodos or by the Pian, and if they say that we were raided by the Bokora, so the Bokora CIDs will try to understand who exactly on such and such a date raided Pian. And Pian will also tell us that we were raided by Bokora. So we shall have suspects on both sides. Those ones with guns, bows and arrow, sticks, collaborators, and other suspects that we may not know during our interrogation. Your Excellency, for example, the yesterday operation in Rorengechora, Napak, some civilian volunteered information. We have 18 people whom the civilian said that these are raiders who normally go to Pian. They testified and we have them in our custody. They will appear in court. This operation, which has lasted for 3 weeks, has so far resulted in recovery of 89 guns, 330 rounds of ammunition, and 1,154 suspects arraigned before civil courts, while others are pending to appear before DCM, especially those with guns. Division Court Martial. As a result of this intensified operation, there is a drastic reduction of criminality both in Karamoja and neighboring sub-regions. The new phenomenon of escalation of cattle raids was driven by commercial aspects as well as unregulated markets, and the introduction of animal checkpoints. As well as unregulated markets and movement of livestock. This has been managed by us too through introduction of animal checkpoints, squads to regulate the movement of animals by using Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries guidelines in regard to the movement of livestock in the country. There was also readjustment in command to improve command and control, deployment of police crime intelligence to counter possible compromise at checkpoints, and the deployment of ASTU in the markets during the market days to help victims identify stolen animals in the markets. Your Excellency, on the issue of recovered animals being kept for long at the detachments, the 3 Division Command issued a directive to all unit commanders that all recovered animals should be handed over to the rightful owners within a period of 7 days, after proper identification and verification by the conflicting parties. On this one, sir, we find that the conflicting parties don't agree. There is a lot of debate by the local leaders, and that keeps a delay. And you find some local leaders, especially on the other side, where there are victims, they want UPDF, once there are exhibits, and they are saying, you get, our cows, 50 were raided. So can you, the commander, help us? Because these are 10 recovered, can you help us chop the 40 so that we top up on 10 and we go? But for us, we are saying, this is not our role as UPDF, our role is custody, so that the leaders discuss on the issue of where the rest of the cows, if a suspect has been got with 10 cows. So there is that contestation. The delays of the handover of recovered animals is largely attributed to local leaders from both victims and perpetrators failing to agree on the matters related to contestation on the figures stolen animals against the recovered. So that's where there is a problem. But UPDF cannot keep the animals when actually we don't know which cow belongs to whom. That is Karamoja, Your Excellency. On the general security situation of Sebei, Bugisu, Teso, the sub-regions are relatively calm. However, these sub-regions occasionally experience incidents of cattle raids, as I've said, from Karamoja. But Bugisu and Sebei sub-regions, on the other hand, experience cross-border related crimes such as cattle thefts, smuggling, and illegal entry. These cross-border related crimes are being addressed through engagement between Uganda and Kenya local authorities. And this is done by the resident district commissioner and their counterparts. And on this side, with the DSOs, RISOs, they normally meet. Your Excellency, there is also unsettled boundary disputes involving the local communities in Sebei and Bugisu against the Wildlife Authority, which continues to have confrontations between these communities and Wildlife Enforcement Agency. In Sebei, the delayed settlement of communities displaced by national park continues to cause conflict between Uganda Wildlife Authority and local communities, as evidenced with continuous trespass and encroachment into the park, because they go there grazing the animals. Yesterday, I informed His Excellency the President and members that continuous grazing of animals in the park. The livestock, especially cows, they may get diseases from the park, or cows take diseases to the wildlife. In an attempt to mitigate the conflict between the communities and UWA, the government reopened the park boundaries temporarily, settled people, but this did not completely resolve the problem. Fighting general crime is the core responsibility of Uganda Police. However, the police manpower, as you are aware, is too thin on ground to effectively carry out policing activities. And in some cases, some local leaders have been requesting the UPDF to have a backup to police. On 14th May 2022, there was an outbreak of anthrax, mostly in Bududa district, that left one person dead, 13 others infected, and 26 cows died of anthrax. While in Manafa and Namusindwa district, cases of anthrax have also been registered and no deaths so far. If not addressed, it is likely to spread to the entire sub-region and beyond. In response to this outbreak, the government has imposed a quarantine in the 3 affected districts. On 29th May 2022, a wider and deeper cracks were seen on the slopes of Mount Elgon in Bududa sub-county, Bududa district. The cause of cracks are not yet known. The cracks were measuring 2.4 meters deep, stretching surface area of over 350 meters long. This has caused fear among the communities living there, given the previous historical experience of landslide. Your Excellency, we have also been getting information of some cattle thefts from Kenya by some criminal elements from Bugisu and from Sebei, and they go through Mount Elgon and cross over to Kenya and steal some cows. And here in Kapchorwa, they have also, Kapchorwa and Bukwa, they have been complaining of cattle thefts by the criminal elements from Bugisu, especially from Silonko. Especially from Silonko. And in our deployments for the last 2 weeks, we have not registered any theft, but because of our deployments, Your Excellency, intelligence have profiled around 15 people from Silonko who are thieves. They cross over to Kapchorwa, cross over to Bukwa, and even cross over to Kenya and steal cows. And they end up in the butcher in Silonko, Mbale, and sometimes beyond. Your Excellency, we discussed some recommendations which I think will be addressed to handle the issues of insecurity in the sub-region. Briefly, that's what I can report within the 3rd Division area of responsibility.
So there are two aspects to note, which I would like the meeting to note, or 3. The first aspect is that the disarmament, which Brigadier Warikudembe talked about, was very successful, the one which happened in the years, some years ago, where we collected 40,000 guns from the Karamoja cattle rustlers. But as he said, about 1 year or 2 years ago, there was a resurgence of this cattle rustling. And it was apparently caused by partly removing 5 division, which was in Achoripi, for training. You see, the problem with the army is a fighting force. It's not a police force. It is not securico. To remain running after thieves, 1 soldier, 2 soldiers, then they forget being army, because army acts in force, in numbers and with big force, not individuals. So it's very dangerous for all these army units to stay just like that, following thieves. When you have a real problem, then the army will not be ready. So we removed 5 division there to go and train, and they have been training. Now, our indisciplined Karamoja thought now there was a gap, so they can do what they want. But also, I think a part of 3rd Division had been removed to go for Somalia or something like that. So that's what misled the cattle rustlers to think that they could again start their misbehavior. But the 3rd one, arrow and bow. Number 3, there is the one with the stick, who is not armed with the arrow or bow, but he has got a stick, but he's the one driving the cows. Driving okufunya, when you chase cows before you. So those ones also are being arrested. And then he said number 4, there is the one who is a spy for the cattle raiders in an area. And then you said number 5 was what? Baruku Dembe? Oh, okay, the people who are known, who are suspected, whom they have information about, what they call profiling, but who may not be raiding at that particular time. So all these 5 are now being targeted. And by doing that, you can give the results, Baruku Dembe, what happened when you did all that, week by week.
Your Excellency, the first week when we began our operation on 16th May, we recovered 22 guns and so many rounds of ammunition. The second week, we recovered 26 guns. The second week we recovered 35 guns because the operation was picking the momentum. Then the 3rd week, so far, since yesterday and the other day, before I left Karamoja, we had 21 guns, and we are still continuing. Even today we recovered more guns, but by close of the day, we may have more than maybe 8 to 10 guns from these suspects, especially the ones that have been arrested in the whole of 9 districts of Karamoja. Excellent.
So therefore, this time we are going to target all people either raiding or aiding raiding. Now, there is an argument which has been there that, you know, guns can't be stopped inside Uganda as long as you have guns in Turkana, Kenya, you have guns in Topotha in southern Sudan, you have guns in Ethiopia, you have guns in Somalia. We don't accept that argument. Because on the western side of Uganda, all the way from Koboko, from Yumbe, all the way to Kisoro, through Kasese. You know very well there are guns in Congo, there are guns in South Sudan. There are even wars going on there. But you don't find any guns entering Uganda through those areas, because the community there doesn't support it. They don't accept. The Kasese people at one time had got that culture, but because of the serious operations we carried out, they gave up that habit. So the guns are there in Congo, in South Sudan, but Ugandans are not concerned because they have got out of that culture. So therefore, the Karamojong will have to get out of that culture of guns. And we were talking about here, yesterday, one of the commanders was telling us that there are what they call witch doctors who bless cattle raiders, and there was a proposal that we should talk to the witch doctors, which we shall do. But I told the commanders that while we may talk to the witch doctors, the more serious way of persuading people is to kill the raiders in spite of having been blessed by the witch doctors, because that now becomes scientific proof that magic does not work. Because you remember that was the problem with Lakwena. Lakwena was telling people that because I have smeared you with shea butter oil, the bullet will not catch you. And when so many of these young people were killed, they abandoned Lakwena. So we are really going to handle this issue. We have now increased the manpower, but as I was saying in my speech at Kororo the other day, this is a waste of money. We had reduced the army from 100,000 in terms of manpower to 40,000 in 1991. And we were concentrating on less manpower, more equipment. Equipment is better than manpower. Why? Because if you put the tank there, it is only when you start the engine that you spend money on the fuel of the tank, which you have, whose engine you have started. But the human being, whether he's active or not, you must pay him, you must feed him, you must deal with his malarias, and they come with our granddaughters. The granddaughters are delivering all the time. So really you squander money for really something that should not happen. So therefore these people who, you the responsible leaders, should educate our people that this money they are squandering through so-called security operations is their money. This is the money that should be building more roads for them. Incidentally, yesterday I was teasing the people who are here. You know, Banyankore have a lot of words. There is, for instance, when you have food, but the food does not have salt in it. I don't know whether in Teso there is a word for that. Food without salt. No, I don't want a description, I want one word. Somebody come and tell us on the...
Epiana is the word. Epiana.
Epiana.
Latin. Yes.
And in Sebei?
Your Excellency, in Sebei it is Tai Tai.
It is what?
Tai Tai.
Tai Tai?
Yes.
Okay. And Bugisu? Bugisu?
If it's just salt, we don't have a word for anything.
So,
Your Excellency, I don't agree with that. We have many words, but where I come from, something which is not tasty is Shitswano. So we cannot say we don't have the words are there.
Shitswano.
Shitswano. Shitswano.
Shitswani.
Shitswano.
Shitswano.
Hey. My name is Wanda.
That means it is not tasty.
It is not tasty.
But not particularly for salt.
Not for salt.
Uh-huh.
Eh.
But because it could be tea without sugar. That would be Sichuan also.
Yes.
So the Bugisu need technical assistance in terms of language.
But thank you.
Your Excellency, Washaki Ahmada is my name, RCC Mbale. Shitswanu in Rumasaba means something which is, if it is meat, it doesn't have any fat, and it is not actually tasted for 18 years. But so, without salt, we don't have any word in Rumasaba.
Now, the Banyankore, do we have some Banyankore here? But Banyankore other than Barukudembe. Some Banyankore come and help us.
Your Excellency, I'm Town Clerk Kapchorwa Municipal Council. Something that is saltless is called Ebinyiga. Ebinyiga.
Ebinyiga, yeah. Ebinyiga. Ebinyiga is Epiana. Epiana? and Tai. For the Bugisu, we shall have to give them technical assistance. Now, yesterday, I was telling the commanders here that before the NRM, this country of yours, Uganda, was Epiana, was Tai. Because it was there, it is food all right, but if you don't add salt, it will not be tasty. And that's what I was telling them about these roads, like this one which the Chaptoris was talking about, from Bare all the way to here and now all the way to Swam. This one going to the training school, I don't know why they discriminated me and left me out. They just take me for granted. Oh, that one. HR will sort it out. So, because of the government and all these roads, except this one of Swam, from Kapchorwa was done with the loan from I think ADB. But the other roads, like this one here, and the ones from Bare, and the ones from Tororo to Soroti, from Soroti to Moroto, these are all done by Uganda government money, Uganda government budget money. So when you have got people forcing us to spend money on things like more LDUs, more, this is really, they are wasting their own money. This is money which would help, which would solve so many problems for them. So really the people in the villages, you should be very strict with these indisciplined actors. To waste money, this would be adding more sweetness in your country, more roads, more pipe to water, more electricity everywhere, more schools. But anyway, we shall handle this insecurity as the commander told you. Now, then there are the other issues which are not strictly security, but which can degenerate into the issue of the boundary between the wildlife and our people here, the Sabine here, and the Bugisu on the other side. I don't know whether somebody has got information on that. Let me see in my brief if there is anything there. Where's my brief? If somebody has got information on that, should comment on it. The one of the boundary, because that one has been going on for a long time. And then there's also a quarrel among the districts, inter-district boundary quarrels. And then there is the outbreak of anthrax. So if somebody has got information on that, he can give us information, like the Minister of Teso, if he's here. Although this is not Teso strictly, maybe Chief Torres, can you tell us about the wildlife boundary? And then the problem of the anthrax. Somebody who knows something about it.
Your Excellency, you are aware that matter of the boundary was discussed in Cabinet, and the Ministry of the Minister of Tourism was supposed to handle it. Up to now, it hasn't been handled. But the people of Sebei complain of the brutality of our personnel. They have killed several people. Some people have been maimed. So that is the concern of our people. And I think if this problem has to be settled, I think we need to clear this idea of the boundary. Because the research which was done, there was a team from tourism, you remember, and they found out that the people had encroached into the forest, but also Ua had encroached in outside the park. So this matter needs to be handled as quickly as possible. And then, of course, to advise Ua to be more humane when they are dealing with our people.
Does that deal with some of these?
Thank you, Your Excellency. One of us can add something.
Your Excellency, this is Museveni MP for Soy. Soy is just down in the plains. I'm also feeling cold a bit. But sometimes when my colleagues find me in Kampala, they say, you are from a cold area. I'm also from an area that is like Teso. Your Excellency, the issue of Uganda Wildlife Authority and the locals, we talked about it in State House in 2013. And we had agreed that some parts of land be carved. But unfortunately, Your Excellency, we had not known that in 2005, there was a consent judgment in court, which again solves our problem that the line should move from the line of 1993 to 1983. And that is simple as it is, because it is a court judgment. It isn't anything that will block these are the locals from occupying the land beyond the 1993 line, which goes now beyond 1983. And they would be covered. Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
Yeah, but the problem is not a court judgment. The problem is really survival of our people. Because you hear that there is a new crack. You heard the commander here talking about it. There is a new crack in Mount Elgon, and they don't know where it is coming from. And in those meetings, I told them about the nails. When you are trimming your nails, you must be very careful to go to the flesh. If you think you are trimming your nails and you go beyond a certain point, you start bleeding. So this mountain, is for our survival. There is what these Bugisu here call Sebei. What is it called? The spring. Sebei. And one? Sebei. Yes. All these rivers you are talking about come from this mountain. And they start somewhere as Sebei. We cannot allow, even by court judgment, because those judges don't know what they are talking about sometimes. This is a science issue. It's a science issue. It's not an issue of judges, lawyers. No. The question is, how far can you go up the mountain without interfering with the Sebei, without interfering with the integrity of the mountain? This is the issue. It's not a law. No, it is science. There's no judge who can say you cut the nail up to the base of the finger. a judge cannot say, he should say, I don't know where to stop, and leave it to the scientists. So really that is the issue. And now coming to the going into the park, you hear this corona. We don't talk about it because we don't want to offend people. We don't talk about corona because we don't want to offend people. But apparently it started with some people who eat monkeys. Versa. So you as leaders, you know, this is where, because me, I don't look at politics as a way of living. Me, I'm a cattle keeper. I don't need anything from anybody for a living. So when I go to leadership, I go to lead people to help them get a better life. If you really want Uganda to be better, you must tell the people the truth. The wild park is absolutely necessary for our survival. And there should be no politics on that. Nobody should try to, I shouldn't say this, I should, no. The nails, when you cut, there is where you stop. Beyond that, you can't, it's not acceptable. So, we can, I should have checked the latest last night, but I will check when I'm in Kampala during the budget. I will talk about it, about all these issues which were raised here, which I did not have time to talk about. Dr. Chitutu, do you have something to say about the boundary? Because you are an environmentalist, by the way.
Yes,
before you became a Karamoja, you are doing something to do with them.
Yes, Your Excellency. On the issue of the boundary, on the Bugisu side, yes, we agree we had issues on the border issues, and you had guided at one time that they followed the 1993 borderline, but I think UA has not effected that, which leaves a few conflicts coming up. But Your Excellency, also, when you came and talked to us in Mbale, and you told us very clearly that we need to dress that mountain, it is like our mother, and we've left it naked. We as leaders, we have continued to spread your message among the population to understand